Call the regular council meeting of Monday, February the 23rd to order. There is a agenda there in front of you. We do have a resolution that will be coming up under, we're going to put it under the council roundtable, but just a heads up, there is a resolution coming that's been circulated to council with regards to violence prevention and ratio resolution for local governments. So that will be under council roundtable. I'd entertain a motion to accept the agenda. Councillor Randawa and Councillor Forster. Any additions or deletions? All in favor? Any opposed? It's carried. Before we go further, I want to take just a second. You know, we last met as a council on February 9th. And a whole lot has happened since that time. There's been the Winter Olympics. There's been an all-native basketball tournament. There's been our trip up to Juneau to go for the Alaska ferries. There's been a rather tragic fire in Fraser Lake that gutted a significant part of their business community. But we met on February 9th, and on February 10th, an absolute horror took place in Tumbler Ridge. And I know that every one of us felt it. I think the response and the public ceremony that took place on the weekend there was moving and important. But you know, we know those councillors. We know that mayor. They've been here in our community. We've been up in their part of the world at what am I going to try to say? NCLGA. That's I was missing the NC part. NCLGA. And there are people in our community that have connections and family and whatever up in Tumbler Ridge. And so I just would call on council and the community for a moment of silence while we just contemplate how blessed we are to have loved ones to hug and be thinking about those folks that are still going to be feeling that pain for a long time. Council, I know it's not in the agenda per se, but if anybody else wanted to make a comment, you're certainly welcome to it this time. And don't feel pressured to, but I don't want to close the door. Councillor Adey.
As a retired teacher, I would just like to share, I suppose, that from time to time when we're mandated to do drills with regard to these kinds of potential events. And when one does those drills, I think we're left feeling that all the drills in the world aren't necessarily a sufficient shield against the eventuality. But I do gather that there was some very heroic actions taken on that day. And my other point is that in the aftermath, I also gather that there's been some really ugly dialogue that's taken place. And I think we're in an information age where we have to be guarded and responsible in terms of how we express our ideas, particularly in a social media environment. And I think this is an excellent opportunity to reflect on that as well.
I agree. Anyone else? I'll just say this: if you didn't get a chance to watch the vigil, I thought I mean, it was all very moving, but I thought in particular, Premier Eby's words were extremely powerful, and they referred to the very thing you're talking about. They referred, and he said, not only do I have permission to share this story, but I've been instructed to share this story. And it was the story of a classroom and a teacher, just to your point, whose son was outside going to the washroom. And this father slash teacher had to make a decision between whether they follow the protocol, which is to lock and barricade the door, or wait for his son to come back. And he followed the protocol and, looked after the kids that were in his care. So, you mentioned those stories of heroism. Uh, Profound, profound. Yeah. I don't even know how to transition out of this into a council meeting, but it is a time for the public to make any comments that they want, but there are no members of the public in the room. So we'll carry on with our agenda. There is a consent agenda in front of you. There are council minutes for approval, minutes of the special meeting to close of February 9th, minutes of the public hearing meeting of February 9th, the minutes of the regular meeting of February 9th, and there's correspondence for receipt from the city of Kamloops with regards to certified resolution on heritage conservation. The recommendation is that all the items on the consent agenda be approved or received as requested. Motion from Councillor Cunningham and Councillor Niche. All in favor? Any opposed? It is carried. We have a report from the Planning Department with regards to Development Variance Permit 2601 at 1524 Amanika. The recommendation is the council approves the Development Variance Permit DVP 2601. Can I have a motion, please, to that effect? Councillors Cunningham and Randhawa. Councillor Adey, did you want to ask your question?
Well, I will acknowledge that there was some reference to public feedback in the report, but in the event that there may have been other feedback to other ears in the city staff, I will ask my question. Was there any public feedback?
Deputy Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We did not receive any feedback.
Thank you very much. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? It's carried. We have a report from the Director of Operations with regards to RFT 260001, 2nd Avenue Morris Creek Bridge repair. The recommendation is that Council award RFT 260001 for the 2nd Avenue Morris Creek Bridge repair to SureSpan Construction Limited in the amount of $2,304,557.09 plus applicable taxes, and that council directs staff to include the overall estimated project increase of $1 million in the 2026 5-year plan. Can I have a motion to that effect? Councillor Randhawa, is there a seconder? Councillor Niche. Discussion. Councillor Cunningham. Oh. I'll go second. Councillor Forster. Is that where I'm going? All right, Councillor Forster.
Thanks. My question is the second bid was only $4,000 cheaper, but it's a local company. Aside from the price, was there anything that led us to choosing a non-local company other than the price?
C.O. Pucci.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll defer this over to
Director Schmidt.
Thank you for the question, Mr. Mayor. Reviewing all the submissions, SureSpan demonstrated the strongest overall construction methodology. So not just being the cheaper proponent there, they had a stronger work plan. In practical terms, they're limiting the access to the bridge to a 3-week closure of routing traffic around, where the other bidders had it for 5 months. SureSpan has also shown good construction progress on our other bridges, so they've worked on other bridges in the community.
Okay. Councillor Cunningham.
Okay, a couple things. Are you saying that Director...
Councillor, can I get you to talk to me?
No.
Thank you.
Are you saying that Broadwater doesn't have the expertise to do this project then?
Councillor Schmidt.
Director Schmitz.
Councillor Schmidt. Director Schmidt.
I get to correct him once in a while.
He wouldn't like the pay cut that comes with the title. Director Schmidt.
Thank you for the question, Mr. Mayor. No, Broadwater definitely has the ability to do the project like this. Their overall methodology was just slightly different from the other proponent. And SureSpan is an expert in bridges, where Broadwater is an expert in all civil construction.
Okay, now the other question I've got is traffic control. Or what is going to happen when that bridge, because when we first did 6th Avenue Bridge, it was going to be a one-lane open. It ended up being closed. It's easy to get around 6th, well, it's not easy, but there's
Right.
roads in that
There's
can get around
alternatives.
6th Avenue Bridge.
Yeah.
But when we go down to 2nd Avenue Bridge, if you close that bridge off, it's going to be quite a cluster to get around it, and we've got to go through CN land. Now, has CN agreed to us, if this happens and the bridge is closed, that we will be allowed to detour through their property? And also, will we be going across the tracks could be blocked at times as far as emergency vehicles and that go?
Director Schmidt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this was part of the award. It's only going to be a 3 weeks closure on the bridge. So unfortunately, the repairs do require the bridge to be closed in its entirety for 3 weeks, and there will be rerouting down onto CN property. We've been in discussions with CN and the property holders down there that it will require 24/7 flagging. So there will be flaggers on all aspects of that closure.
Now, getting back to emergency vehicles, because sometimes those tracks are blocked.
Sorry,
Getting back to the fact that if we need emergency vehicle access to section
oh, I see,
2
and the tracks being blocked.
and the tracks being blocked, is there any contingency plan with CN to move vehicle or cars in that really rapidly?
Director Schmidt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. With regards to emergency vehicles, we've actually been working with the engineering consultant that's done the design and staging of the work, that they may be able to pass during that closure. It just wouldn't be safe for the general public to be going through the bridge.
Okay, now the other aspect is you're asking us to pass for 200 or 2,304,000 and change, but in the cost factor here, you've got another $1 million added. Now, why are we putting another $1 million onto a project when we've got a bid already for the project?
Director Schmidt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So that bid from SureSpan is only for construction activities. So that's the actual required work to fix the bridge. However, there's other aspects of the project that require funding. So that doesn't encompass the engineering cost, inspection cost, the traffic control we've already done to date, future traffic control in there. So that encompasses the whole scope of the project. The approved budget right now, looking at, is 2.2, so it is already over construction costs. So that covers the roughly $500,000 on top of that in engineering, traffic control, and then we're asking for a small contingency. It is an old wooden structure where we are anticipating that once we rip the decking off, that there's going to be other rotten members that we're going to need to replace.
So normally when you have a contract, you include all those other expenses. So why in this particular contract it was broken up like that? And secondly, telling a contractor, well, we've got a contingency built in, they're going to say, oh boy, and use it up as far as I'm concerned.
Director Schmidt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We generally break our big engineering projects down that the engineering expenses and design expenses are separate from the contracting expenses, so it's two different companies. Generally, the contractors are aware there is a contingency in the project. We try not to advertise it, and we do good construction management practices to avoid change orders in that regard.
Thank you.
One more thing and then
Yes,
I'll shut up.
absolutely.
Okay, now with this traffic control and a guarantee of 3 weeks, is that a is there a guarantee it's only going to be 3 weeks, or could there be a runover of time?
Director Schmidt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Unfortunately, in construction, nothing's a guarantee. We're obviously hoping for the best case scenario here. We've done all our due diligence and homework on the back end to try to ensure it's 3 weeks. But as old wooden structures, there's uncertainties with that.
So my question is, if it looks like it's going to take longer, are they just going to work an 8-hour shift, or are they going to be putting more time into it to get it done faster?
I see CAO Pucci's hand coming up here.
I mean, I think we're getting, Mr. Mayor, I think we're getting a little far into, you know, the what ifs here. If we get into that situation, we can then look at augmenting schedules and look at the best cost effective approach. I mean, that's a real tough thing to answer right now is what if we're getting into overtime? What if we're getting there? I mean, I appreciate we're trying to look at the best cost certainty here, but I mean, we can't anticipate everything on an older structure like that.
I'm just concerned that this is a main artery to section 2, and if people are already complaining with one lane, and they're going to have no lane, and if it starts running over, we're going to run into problems. I'm just asking these questions because I know we're going to be getting them.
Yes, yeah, fair. Councillor Ady.
Um, I think I understand the separation of the two amounts. So I have a question in respect to that. In a way, it seems to me that some of these questions invite an understanding of why one would go with a 3-week closure proposal versus a 5-month closure proposal. So in the event that we went with the local bid and ended up with a 5-month proposal, would the costs related to things like traffic control, which would then have to be financed over a period of 5 months, they would also increase, would they not?
I would assume so, but Director Schmidt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The way this is broken down, it's a little bit confusing. So the traffic control per the actual construction is in these bids by the proponents. However, the traffic control we've done to date when there was a failed inspection is separated in there. So that additional 500,000 in engineering design and traffic control that you see on the bridge right now is on top of this. However, the 5-month closure includes traffic control. So it's a different style of methodology where one of the proponents believes they can do the work quicker per se by closing the bridge entirely, where the other one thinks they can do it slightly different with a shorter closure.
Councillor Ady.
My second question is over the difference between a fixed price bid, wherein the work gets done, whatever the work entails for that price, versus this is the price until we discover this other stuff that we have to do. I'm just wondering which of those these bids represent.
Director Schmidt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is a fixed price. So we did engineering design and inspection. So we took a look at the members, or an engineering consultant came in with a snooper truck, inspected the members, saw what needs to be replaced, and that's the bid to replace those members. However, there is a number of members that you can't see without doing kind of destructive work, taking the bridge deck off. But there's a fixed price for each member on top of that that goes above and beyond what we've scoped in this, if that makes sense.
I think you can see why council is chewing on this, right? Because we have two very competitive bids, one with a local firm and one with a firm that's doing work in town but doesn't have the history of the other, separated by about $4,000. It's a challenging, but you know, it's why all the questions, right? Director Schmidt is, and you've done a good job, I think, of helping council understand why the recommendation is the way it is. Any other questions, council? All in favor? Any opposed? Councillor Cunningham is opposed, but the motion passes. Thank you very much. All right, the next item up is a report from the Director of Operations, RFP 2026-0003, purchase of a tandem axle dump truck. Recommendation is that Council award RFP 2026-0003 for the supply and delivery of one tandem axle dump truck to Velocity Trucking Center for proposal number 6, 2027 Freightliner M2106 in the amount of $343,876.60 plus applicable taxes. Can I have a motion, please? Councillor Cunningham, is there a seconder? Councillor Forrester, Any discussion? Councillor Cunningham.
Does this come with the plow and everything?
Ah. Director Schmidt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It does. It comes with a plow and a salt and sander box.
Awesome.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? All in favor? Any opposed? It is carried. We now move on to council roundtable, and I'm going to direct immediately to Councillor Forster. You have a couple of items, I think, that you want to bring forward.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the late item is a resolution for NCLJ and potentially onto UBCM about violence in healthcare as well as minimum nurse to patient ratios. So I don't think it's a secret in our community that I work in healthcare. And I've talked many times about the violence that affects healthcare in general, not just any one designation. This resolution calls on government to start holding the health authorities accountable for making our workplaces safer for all healthcare workers, as well to fully implement the minimum nurse to patient ratios, which is something which will make our communities safer, our hospitals safer, and allow our communities to get the best care that they deserve while in hospital.
So you're moving
I'm moving
that this be
brought forward to NCLGA and
NCLGA.
then subsequently,
all right.
if it's passed there, to UBCM.
Is there a seconder? Councillor Randawa. Out of just pure unnecessary information,
Yes.
I would point out that the very first time I met you, Councillor, I was running for a provincial office and you were trying to gain my signature on a document that involved violence against healthcare workers and nurses. And I put you off because I said, I don't just casually sign these things, but I have a daughter that works in healthcare and I want to talk to her. And after talking to my daughter, we had a conversation that I think she just protected me from, quite frankly. She just never said, hey, Dad, this is what happens at work. And I learned an awful lot as a result of that, and then happily signed the document. So it's interesting that we're sitting here side by side tonight. Councillor Cunningham.
One maybe observation is if we present this to NCGLA and they don't forward it to UBCM, that we consider putting it to UBCM directly from this council.
I don't know if we need to cross that bridge now. I don't know enough about the process.
Not till we know.
Yeah.
And being a director on NCGLA, I'll be pushing it anyway.
There you go. All right. All in favor? Any opposed? It's carried. You had another item, I believe.
I have a couple of, I also wanted to do a notice of resolution. I don't have it ready yet, but I would like to do another resolution potentially for NCLGA. Just looking at the new budget that's come forward from government, the potential to write one about the homeowner grant as it relates to a decrease in what seniors can. I need to look at it more, so just notice that I'll bring that to the next council meeting. Two other things. I wondered if we could, I strive to do better in my communication at all times. And in reflecting on that as an organization, I wonder if there are better ways that we can communicate out our plans to the broader community, especially as it relates to Indigenous specific events. And I wonder if we could ask or call upon our Truth and Reconciliation Committee to help us with that. Do you need a motion for that, or is that something I could just ask?
Councillor CEO Pucci.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't think we need a resolution. I think staff has got that, and we can take that to them. I know that you will likely be hearing a presentation from them within the next month, as there's going to be some discussion about terms and their terms on the committee. So I'll bring that to them. Thank you.
Perfect. Great. Thanks. And the last thing, when we did the moment of silence, I was still reflecting and didn't put my hand up quickly enough. I did want to point out there's a lot of supports available for people in our community for mental health, as well as for people from all walks of life that are experiencing harm and being triggered by what's happened, especially those in our 2S LGBTQ community. Some of the dialogue that has targeted some of those communities has caused further harm. Stuff like this is never good for anyone. And that's where it's important that we focus on the kindness of our community. And that was it. Thank you.
Thank you. I haven't thought about this to word it really well, but I think for that community that you described, I think it's really important that they hear, even if it's not well said, that this council, this mayor, this council is committed to creating a safe place for you. And that we reject the hate that's being spread through the internet. People can have different discussions about the movement in our society and the way things are. That's legitimate. But the hate and the vitriol, thank you. The vitriol, the blaming, the rushing to judgment, the lying that's taking place in our culture is saddening to me. And I want to repeat again, you don't have to like me. You don't have to vote for me as a mayor. That's all fine. I am committed to creating a safe place for every single citizen in our community. And I know that every member of this council is, I just know from having spent time with each of you that you're equally committed to that. And I just thank you. I want to say that. Anyone else? Council roundtable. Councilor Cunningham. Microphone?
On that note, if anyone knows of anyone that they feel needs to be talked to, or that there's ways of doing it, and that, and they can get a hold of anyone on this council, and we'll give them the numbers. And I don't have it right offhand right now, but sometimes just smiling and saying hi to somebody during the day helps a lot.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Yeah.
And on our last council meeting, there was a lady here that approached us at the end about Quinitza Station and the movement of that and that. And there's actually the Railway Building Heritage Fund out of Ottawa that gives grants for things like that. Although Quinitza Station was originally moved and it was, 80 kilometers outside of town, it's now in town. I don't know if it's still eligible for that grant or not, but common sense would tell me that, if we lobbied a little bit for it, they might look at paying for that.
CAO Pucci.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We did look at that. There's likely going to be some improvements to that building that probably would make it not qualify for the heritage funding when it gets moved. The repurposement of it. I mean, we want to keep it as historic as possible, but there will have to be some modern amenity put into it, which would likely take it out of being able to qualify for that fund. But we'll have staff look at it one more time. But I think we looked at it after we heard the last time to have a peek.
I think even if we don't qualify, if we put in, because that's one of only 2 buildings in BC left that style. And so it's significant, and maybe somebody will look at it and say, hey, wait a minute. You never know with that. And the other thing is, I don't know if we hired students last summer around city. Director Smits might be able to help us with this, but now that it's February, and if there's grants or programs out there to hire students for the summer, I'm thinking we should be looking at it, because I know that a few years ago, trees were growing over the sidewalks and things like this, and we had students out there cleaning them up and that. And I don't believe last year, if we did hire students, they were doing that type of work. I don't know, but maybe it's something to look into now so that when the time comes, our applications are already in. And
CAO
students,
Pucci.
Yes, we hire students every year, and we do applications in every year. And we'll be doing it again this year. Yeah, thank you.
Councillor Randawa.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We just have all little basketball tournament, and I would like to thank all the committee members, volunteers, players, spectators, and our staff. They did everybody did great job. I'd like to thank everybody.
I agree. You know, I wasn't down there as much as I would like to be normally, but the atmosphere in the building was very positive, and certainly every staff member that I saw was contributing to that. So, yeah, yeah. Anything else? Entertain a motion to adjourn. Councillors Forster and Randawa. All in favor? Any opposed? It is carried. Good night, Councillor Skelton Morven.